inner authority, inner agency, inner power. And it's all about relationships with ourselves, with others, with our world, and checking in here, tuning in, taking a moment to take some intentional breaths. What's alive in you?
There's a sense of needing to get stuff done. Mhm. So a motivational pressure that right now doesn't feel overwhelming, and that I'm making sure to have good self-care for, because if I don't, then I will get overwhelmed. That's what's alive in me currently. There's a lot of things going on. What's alive in you? It's so Dre.
Oh,
Dre day.
yeah.
Mm.
What's alive in me? I'm full. Say it right
Oh,
before this.
you mean
Yeah,
like food-wise full?
food wise, yeah.
Okay.
Just noticing the sensations here, and there is like a need for movement. Yeah,
Mm,
some
you didn't work
physical
out?
activity.
Yeah, you usually work out, and you didn't this morning?
I didn't.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So like to bring that in after the call. I mean, do some push-ups, shake. And desire for clarity, more spaciousness to get that clarity, because I have all this thing, and it's just presence, so that it sorts itself out automatically.
Oh, so you're saying you have a sense of, because you did this, overwhelm or
This
pressure?
this is also there's also fullness here,
Oh, okay. Mhm.
and what asks of me is presence, relaxation,
Mhm.
space, to allow um, the unknown, the unseen, the other supports outside of my mind to reorganize and sort them out. Yeah.
Mm. Interesting. I'm
Mhm.
fascinated that you're saying it like that, and that you're trusting an intelligence outside of your mind, it seems like, to
Yeah.
sort it out for you.
It's a lot more peaceful actually now. Before it wasn't. Before it was like, what the heck is that? Let's figure it out now. This urgency, right? There's overthinking. I can get to this. I can power my way through, and realizing I actually like the inverse, and trusting the inverse, that there comes a sense of insight and realization that comes naturally through the felt sense, through just quality of presence.
Mm, it sounds like
Yeah.
you really right.
Yeah, maybe we switch roles here, right? You're like, "There's pressure to get things done," and I'm like, "Wait, I just wanna chill and let it reorganize itself in its own way."
Yeah, well, I love that you're saying that. You've just articulated, yeah, how I operate. So, I'm curious, like, when this really
Hmm.
dropped in for you.
Um, I've been going through a 12-week
Metamorphosis?
journey. Yeah, a 12-week journey with some men, going deep, sort of initiation and connecting with the felt sense and sensuality, and the mythic, and we call it the mythopoetic stories that unfold. Like, there's a story that's playing out whether I'm conscious of it or not. And there's a
Always.
story that's playing out with the world. And there's
Mhm.
themes, there's landmarks, there's repeatable patterns. Hello, no introduction needed. Thanks for being here.
Yes. Friend,
Appreciate the
introduction is needed.
yeah, the coffee or something. Thank you. Thank you. I like that. One thing I like is, just a little um trail side quest here is a soup breath where I'm smelling the soup and then I'm blowing it to cool it down. That's called a soup breath. Anyways, this exploration of the unknown, the myth and the unfolding of the story in my own life. And so this is giving me a sense of relaxation along with the recognition that there's some data and information that supports the intuitive sense. And the mind is on board. The mind is let's try this out. Let's no longer be the master. Let's be the emissary. Let's wait for instructions. And even
Mhm.
in my human design, I'm designed to respond, to respond to invitations and opportunities, to check in if this is a heck yeah or like which is a no. Yeah, because I've been on that doing train, and the theme of that is frustration. Like the idea that I'm banging my head against the same wall, or you know doing the same thing but expecting different results, or spinning plates and then adding another plate to spin, right? And so this requires some spaciousness to be able to respond rather than react. Yeah.
This is exciting. Such a juicy conversation, and I love how you're weaving it and pulling it in. It's reminding me of because I'm just re-editing my book for republication, and I'm in the chapter about quantum physics and what they call the wave function, which is that realm of creative potential or the infinite intelligence that we have the capacity to tap into. Um, and I see that I'm frozen there for a second. Guy Claxton also has a book called The Hare Brain, Tortoise Mind. And so he talks about D mode or default or deliberate thinking, which I think you've just been exploring and articulating so well, and how it's good when we need to sort something very logical and linear out, like what grocery store to go get our grocery list or the very logical linear things. But when it comes to a creative project or solving more abstract things, we need to allow the trust in the infinite and collective field to sort itself out. And I just love how you've articulated that. It's so exciting to me.
Yeah. And this connects to like the wave function and how the wave function solidifies in the matter,
Right,
which
when it
is the
collapses.
essence of physical reality, right? It's a construct, a simulation of our conscious collective conscious mind, this reality form. So let's go back to this linear logical thinking, the rational mind, and neuroscientists Alan Shore and Ian McGilchrist have done studies of this, of the left brain, right brain connection, and how society so focuses on the left brain, on logic and scientifics and materialism, that it misses the meaning. Because when we get too deep into the abstraction, we forget the whole. So it's not to say linear logical thinking is bad, it's to say that it needs to be married with the abstract, the whole thinking, the right brain, the intuitive sense, to make sense of the story and myth that's playing out. Because if I get so specific into an abstraction, into separation, yes, it makes linear sense and I can map it out, but lose its connection to the greater picture. So I'm not getting the full sense of data. I'm getting a distorted reality.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to dip in and dip out, dip in and dip out, and consider both the right brain and the left brain in the whole thing.
That's
It's just
nice.
like I like to use the analogy of the elephant, right? You got 5 blind men touching different parts of the elephant and debating and arguing this is what an elephant is. One's touching the trunk, one's touching the tail, one's touching the side, but they're missing the whole.
Yep.
And to tap in the whole requires me to take space, to cultivate presence, to get out of the linear mind of going so focused in, which creates overthinking, which creates rumination, which creates stuckness. Because I'm just recycling information that I already have. It's like an Ouroboros, a snake eating itself.
Yes, and that's where our energetic patterns repeat in every aspect of our lives, in our relationships, in our work, in our physical symptoms. The snake eating itself over and over again. Mhm. Very exciting. Um, so many ways we can take this. Speaking of quantum physics, because I had to study that actually to complete my master's degree, um, so that I could argue and win a thesis when I was doing what they called a subjective research study. Because in traditional Newtonian science, they talk about an objective observer. You can observe something objectively, but in quantum science, they say their observer always brings about the result. There is no such thing as an objective observer. Everything we think, all the stories we create in that logical linear frame of mind brings about what we see in our external reality, in our relationships to ourself, source, others, to how we've created our life. And so to get out of those loops, we need to enter what they call the wave function, which in quantum physics, which is the right brain faculties. And for any of you that have never watched Jill Bolte Taylor, she was a neuroscientist who had a massive stroke. She's written the book, My Stroke of Insight. She talks about observing her mind when she had a stroke to her left hemisphere. It went offline. And then she was able to really experience the oneness of the world. She was just in the wave function reality that now they're bringing online in quantum physics. And so this is really about applying universal law of energy that Einstein, Jill Bolte Taylor, neuroscientists understand, often mentally, but to embodying it, to allowing the right and the left hemispheres to connect and do so swiftly and quickly. So we're always taking in information from the creative field and then applying it through our body conduits and our personality here on earth. And in doing that, we become way more profoundly creative and effective in everything that we are implementing and creating in our lives.
That's beautiful because that creates long-lasting change and transformation, not just from a place of mentally overriding and using my willpower to convince myself, right? Because yeah, like if I'm this linear thinking, I'm just playing with information that I'm only aware of right here, right now, and I'm just recycling it. And I can also be recycling old belief stories, right, that are limiting. I can be in my story mind, right, ruminating, recreating the same circumstances in my reality versus stepping into this imaginative, open exploration, being open to what is being received, and knowing that a lot of like personal development work traditionally isn't trauma informed, meaning we've been developed in the right brain, pre verbal, being a
You
fetus
mean in the
in our
womb?
mother's
In the
womb.
womb? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's everything is pre-verbal, pre-logic, pre-linear thinking. We didn't have that faculty. Everything was felt sense. Everything was emotions and feeling and co-regulating with our mothers. Even when we were born, we didn't have language, right? It was more felt. and energetic, and how we learned to regulate was through our mothers, through our parents, and how they regulated with us. So all of those imprints, all of those patterns were implemented before language. And for us to want to really work with the core requires us to move out of linear thinking and more in this right to right brain connection, which is truly presence, presence, empathic presence, just sitting with us with someone without needing to fix them, advise them, comfort them, just to be with your experience. Allow someone to move out of the story and begin to see the story for what it really is and rewrite it and provide new evidence to prove a different story.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes far more life-giving. We enter the
Mhm.
life-giving, energetic, co-creative field rather than these collapsed states, that the logical linear mind, that's its weakness, if we wanna call it that. And it, it's really good at applying what already exists. So if we have an old style 1940s telephone, it knows how to pick it up. However, if you all of a sudden jump forward 100 years, and I don't know what we'll be using after cell phones, no one would know how to pick it up. And so the creative mind has to be let loose to examine and explore different possibilities. And Einstein knew this. He knew. He always said that imagination is more important than knowledge because imagination allows you to explore all the creative potentialities of who we are versus knowledge, which is very limited to what we already know. And that's what you've said. Um, but for some reason, we really exemplify knowledge. We've downplayed imagination as this child play thing that only children should do, and we should, oh, that's just in your imagination. Oh, it's floofy, it's woofy, it's inconsequential, and that is nothing farther than the truth.
Yeah, and I learned that from my parents. I learned it culturally, right? And it trickles, from somewhere, right? Like everything rises and falls on leadership. And so the systems itself promote linear logical thinking because they make great slaves. They make great workers, right? They make great production. They wouldn't want anybody to become aware and use their imagination to create their own freedom and peace, wouldn't they?
No.
No. So it makes sense for us to, in a way, go on our journey of awakening, right? Taking the red pill in our own timing, in our own initiation, to begin to cultivate and create a life by our own design. So that's the journey, isn't it? Moving away from the layers of programming by our family systems. No personal fault to their own, because we got to name the cultural and systemic soup that we're in that's causing this thinking to be, in a way, prioritized, this linear thinking to be prioritized. And again, you and I were saying we're not against it. There's just so much more, right? And that the linear thinking is here to serve, right? The abstract, the vision, the imaginatory source that gets downloaded to then manifest in physical reality. It's knowing how to use both and
Yeah.
at what time.
Yeah, and once you get a felt sense of that, life is far more peaceful. Time expands, or it seems to expand. It's like you have more time even though you're doing more. It's not what we thought it was. It's a very interesting dynamic as you slip into that timeless realm that you can experience while you're painting or listening to music. Um, we just expand in our potentiality as a species, and it's really exciting, I think, where we can go because if we've already created what we have on planet Earth now, we can create a lot more. And we can, like you said, be free a lot of the economic and social structures that I think really inhibit us. And I think a lot of people are afraid, maybe those in power that have amassed wealth, about the potentiality that we have because they won't have the same control that they do now. We'll be more in tune with each other, with the collective consciousness, with Earth itself. We'll be hmm, more in tune with the way we used to function back in Earth-based but tribal cultures, while also having technology as an extra mm, what boost to what we already know. And
Yeah.
this is where I'm going to go on a sidetrack because we have all these data centers and chat GTP and all of these things for them to be able to amass information, but only it's only as good as we're able to tap into collective consciousness and evolve. And so
Mm.
these data centers want to connect into our way of thinking so that chat and all of these AIs can evolve. They're not the smart things. It's us. And they give us that information and those access to those things for free because they want to see where human consciousness is going through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important to key in into the intention, right? Of why am I doing this? Why am I creating? How am I using AI? And then if I'm not aware, then I can easily fall into this fear place orientation of power over or control or domination, right? This place of making war rather than tuning into the essence of how can I do this so that it proliferates life, it contributes to thriving life, it's life giving. And that comes with a sense of trust and meaning of the mythic story that's unfolding in my life. Because when I'm disconnected from that source, when I'm disconnected from meaning, then I'm just a doing, a human doing, right? Being pulled by messages from marketings and sales companies that tell me to buy this particular stuff or do this to soothe myself or feel happy or live the American dream. Following this prescribed method of happiness, realizing, wait a minute, how come I don't feel happy? There seems to be something missing here. And I'm always chasing for the next high, the instant gratification. So, first piece is like waking up to what system, what game am I playing here? Am I playing this finite game of every man for himself? Or am I playing this infinite game that contributes to the game continuing, right? Even the use of AI, right? Use of technology without having that intention being clear, it can easily fall into a dystopian society of that being used against us, used for tyranny, right? Not for freedom. Yeah. So going back to like, yeah, what is my intention? What is my orientation? And that starts with me sitting with myself and just being so clear on why I am here. Why do I exist? Putting voice to it.
Well, isn't that the biggest question we all have? We
Hmm.
all have that question underlying everything that we do every day in our life. Why am I here? What is my purpose?
Hmm.
And I don't know if most of us have really dived deep into our own lives into that. Oops.
Hmm. Oh, I see Dawn here. Welcome, Dawn. Welcome.
Wow. For me, all that disappeared, the chat and everything. So, hi, Dawn. If you see that.
Oh, there you go. I'll pop it off for you. Yeah.
Oh, man, that Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Yay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, Speaking of logical, linear thought, it takes me into the diagnostic and statistical manual, the labels, the judgments, the things that we have that put things into boxes, and they can be useful. Um, but Dr. Patrice Sommet, I loved him so much. He passed away along with his wife, but he talked about the ancient shamanic and African cultures and how they saw it very differently from the West, which relies more on the logical, linear way of controlling the human psyche. he talked about really seeing people who demonstrate what we call psychic breaks or mental illness as people that are awakening to a whole other realm, that are awakening to the divine intelligence, that are closing the gap or seeing beyond the veil that separates us. And I think a lot of people are beginning to awaken to this truth, to this knowing within themselves that they can both um, create a new reality for themselves. They can create connection. They can create beauty. They can create relationships that aren't afraid of conflict. They can step out of fear into what David Hawkins might call a pure essence of love that I believe we emanate from, that I know we do. Our presence, like you said, the nervous system, the neuroscience and the nervous system, as we just are with somebody, they then have access as we stay out of judgment and stories and are with somebody without some pre-scripted protocol of who we think they are or who they should be. We
Hmm.
end up um, in an ever evolving creative process that's really exciting
Mm.
that I
Yeah.
see people spontaneously.
Mm. Yeah. Playing in curiosity, right? So let's ties it back into how we open up with, what's alive. And you mentioned this pressure. And
Mm.
so how do we orient towards pressure so that it doesn't feel like pressure?
Yeah.
That I do find pressure as a motivating, encouraging energy, perhaps the warrior energy to get shit done, right?
Mm.
Hey, sometimes I need to kind of move forward and integrate or embody or take action in the physical reality, right? To manifest, to create, to meet the universe halfway. So, how do we take this pressure and transmute it in a way that allows us to do right action and at the same time still stay connected?
Mhm. Great question. I think how you um, opened with how you do it. Sometimes you need to rest, right? A lot of people talk about self care. I know I'm under pressure right now to finish some editing and things for my book. And it's like, oh, wow, I have to have it done in a week. There's actually a deadline, so to speak. Although I know my thoughts fracture and I'm not creative when I actually think I have to get something done. So I actually have to put on some great drumming music, let my mind get into that creative space without the interference of what I think pressure is. It's kind of like a reverse engineering process. And I need to trust I'm going to focus, I'm going to put my energy towards what I need to get done. And somehow it just always gets done in the time that it needs to be done in when I let go of thinking about the deadline. Um, it seems a little mm, unscripted, but it works. It somehow, like you says, the intelligence arranges it so that it finishes in the time that it needs to. And then I don't feel pressure because when I have pressure, I get headaches and then I need to sleep and then I can't get stuff done, you see. So that's
Mm.
how I can explain it. Does it sound really crazy?
No, not at all.
No? Okay.
Because it works for you
Works
as long as
works
it
for me.
gets results, right? That that doesn't take away, like, I guess, doesn't creates more stress, right? More discontent. Because I know for me, if I push myself to get things done and not take a break and just keep going, not eat, I become irritable, right? I stop breathing. become tight. And so how I go about this is like I love to use time blocking, but
Mm,
not a place where it's like dun 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 dun, filling up my entire calendar and I can't breathe. But in a sense of creating the structure of boundaries that I'm going to do this particular work. And when I do this particular work, there isn't like a set of steps for me. I just go in it and I start looking at it. And prior to that, of creating the space, I put in some music, I burn some incense, I tap into sound and smells to really put myself in this flow state.
mhm,
And I know initially trying to get some work done, it always seems like there needs to be a flywheel, just like, pulling down the wheel, the initial
mm,
inertia. Then the flywheel starts spinning and perhaps creates its own momentum through that spinning. And that's a flow state for me is when I lose track of time, when it doesn't feel like pressure, it doesn't feel like work. And I get to work on this piece until, oh, my time's up. And what has been supportive is what hasn't been supportive, I'll say, is picking up my phone or checking email within that time block. Because then that opens up tabs for me. That leaves me feeling agitated and scattered. It also feeds into my own stories of, oh my God, Dre, you're not staying focused, right? The educator, the critic of shaming myself for being distracted. But there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason of like, hey, maybe I want to go over here. Maybe I want to relax. But most of the time, if I just stop, breathe, and let it go and stay focused or get up from my chair and move around in my office or do some push ups, it eventually goes away.
mhm,
So the biggest piece for me is watching for that and having discipline to not get distracted and then feel scattered. And then during the breaks, hit the washroom, I get something to eat, I chill, and I'm not doing something else. I'm not getting lost in the rabbit hole of emails and texts. That is when it starts building and the agitation starts building and the exhaustion starts building for me. But when I can stay like, okay, rest, work, and then rest, work, I get into this nice rhythm. And it
mhm,
also sets up a runway for my critic to then be praising me. My critic is
mhm,
now praising me instead.
mhm,
That feels really good. So I'm giving it evidence that I'm following through and it feels it in my body that I am productive and I'm not beating myself up for it. Right.
mm. I love that. What an
Yeah.
amazing I love how you said the flywheel, and it's tough to get started doing things. I think that's part of what they might call ADHD because I get hyper focused. I get stuff done. I'm not gonna stop eating or stop caring for myself because eventually I burn out. But I
Mm.
go until my brain doesn't seem to be focusing as much. I'll go bounce on the trampoline, go for a walk, like you said, get something to eat so that my brain is replenished, and I just return to the task at hand. And you're right, if I get on phones or get messages that might be disturbing or people need attention from me, then I forget where I'm at. I forget what I'm doing, and then I feel scattered.
Yeah.
And then that is when the stress shoots up. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, although I wouldn't call it time blocking, um, for me, it's energetic blocking. It's like what allows me to feel, like you said, in flow, where I feel at ease with what's happening and I'm not feeling stressed. I don't have these stories of being inadequate or that I should be faster or any of those things. I'm just focused.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels good to be in that zone. Like I'm just like moving along, flowing, and I lose track of time and it doesn't feel like work. Like I just want to keep going, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? It doesn't feel like work. Then we
Mhm.
start this is when we know we're doing purpose work. We're contributing. It feels fabulous. It's not a job. It's
Yeah. And then let's say I do run into something like a roadblock, the practice of asking that question and letting it go or getting up and walking away and doing something else. I think it's a great time for me to start working out or even just take a break. If I get into that moment of like, "Ah, I can't figure this out, I'm not sure how to,
Mhm.
fit it together." I ask for guidance. I ask for my ancestors, my support to be like, hey, you have permission to offer me guidance in the right and perfect timing. And I just let it go. And there's more trust in that, right? Because my mind has experienced the other of being stuck in hitting my head against the wall and just like overthinking it and trying to power right through it. I know where that leads. And I know I've been on the other side of just relaxing and then boop, there's the idea. Yeah,
Well,
it
that's what
comes.
yeah. I mean, isn't it Leonardo da Vinci or Einstein? They used to hold a someone like that
Thomas
used
Edison.
was it Thomas Edison? He used to hold a ball in his hand, and he'd kinda
Balls.
nod off in his chair until the ball dropped and or the bowl, and it made a sound, so it would wake him up, so then he would catch those creative impulses.
It's such a great time to take a nap, power nap, rest. And then when I get up, I get more clarity. I'm like, oh, I know what to do. Every single time I leave with more clarity with the power nap, especially when I'm stuck.
Yeah, sleep is amazing.
Very, very amazing. I've just released the pressure, right? Because this allows me to move out of my left brain to my right brain. This linear solo focus where I'm losing the whole because I'm so focused on this abstraction, I lose the connected piece to the greater whole of the whole thing. And so when I relax, I naturally get into that wave function
Well, they're
where
talking about
all
brain states. Yeah.
yeah, all
Mhm.
where all the information answers live.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it just picks it out. Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, all the brainwaves, especially theta, where all our images come from, rapid eye movement, sleep. I often get down what they call downloads in sleep. It's like, here's the answer to the dilemma, to the problem, to the stuckness that you've had, and figuring out moving forward with whatever project. It's just like ease, getting out of all the doingness allows information just to filter in with ease.
Yeah.
Um, they call it maybe epiphanic knowing, spontaneous insight that drops in when
Mhm.
the barriers to the logical linear thinking, the barriers, the labels are removed. New concepts can filter in with
Yeah,
ease.
exactly. I just kind of liken it to when I'm thinking it's like a microscope. I zoom in, right? And then knowing when to zoom out.
Mhm.
I think the eyes is a great example because you do natural vision improvement. It's like when I squint my eyes and I focus, right? And I lose my peripheral, I lose the whole. But if I relax my eyes, relax and see the wide view and lens, I see the whole. And my eyes, my muscles of my eyes do relax as well at the same time. Right. So there
Mhm.
comes a time to focus and it comes a time to relax. Right. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, you're actually talking about accommodation, the ability of the eyes to focus near and far with stamina and speed, and it does reflect our inner ability in processing. Um, you're talking about the linear logical mind, and it actually refers to the light function. We have a particle eye and a wave function eye. Our left
Mm,
brain literally takes things in packets and chunks in logical linear,
mm,
just like light does when they do light experiments. And the right brain, which is linked to the left eye, takes everything in as a whole. In
mm.
fact, if you're arguing with your spouse, um, most men are more logical linear. If they cover up their right eye, which is linked to the right brain, they can connect more to their emotions and vice versa.
Mm.
Kind of helps with arguments. And because our culture is so dominant, right, in this logical linear, what they might call D mode, default mode, our right eye tends to be dominant. It's so dominant in many people that people will get strabismus or amblyopia, which means the right or the left eye actually starts to be suppressed. it stops working. The signals from the brain don't work.
Hmm.
Most people don't even notice because they're so used to having one eye and it sees fine. As soon as they cover the other, they're like, "Oh, this side's really blurry," or it feels really uncomfortable.
I guess maybe we can ask the people watching right now, do a little experiment. Cover your right eye and look through your left, and then switch, right?
And then switch.
Cover your left and look through your right.
Yeah. Often we don't know we're not taking in evenly from both eyes or both sides of our brain. And this is what eyes are for. They're light receptors at the base of it, the rods and the cones, they're light receptors. They're meant to take in light and make sense of it. These things that we see around us, we only see them because light bounces off of them and into our eyes. And I can get into all sorts of things with that, but
Mm.
there's something called a light reflex. So, Doctor, I think it was Ray Gottlieb, he was an optometrist who discovered that our light reflex actually dims when we're asked difficult logical questions like mathematical questions. We're not able to receive light as well. Whereas if we're in an imaginative phase, a positive, joyful feeling from childhood, the light reflex brightens at the back of our eye. It's fascinating. And as we're able to take in light from both sides of our brain, the logical, linear, and the creative in an even interwoven way, what does that do? It actually lights up our pineal gland.
Mm.
And what's our pineal gland? It's like the master regulator of the entire body. It's also our connection to source and the infinite intelligence.
Mm.
It helps us weave these two pieces, our personality, our body here on earth, our logical linear needs to be in the manifesting physical world, and source, the energy behind all of it.
Right. And the intention,
Mm,
right? The meaning and the purpose to why we're building all of this.
yeah.
And to be disconnected from that can lead us to be building out of fear,
Oh, 100%.
out of unmetabolized grief, unprocessed emotions, through our shadow distortions and unconscious. We become disconnected from source, right? And then we believe that we're gods.
Well, we are connected to source. We are not the God, but we are certainly have um, access.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah. Talking about human beings desiring to be living gods in this physical reality.
Tell me more about that. What do you what do you mean by that? By living like what
Um,
they have on TV and shows, like literally Thor and whatever, those archetypes?
more of a lack of humility and reverence and
Yeah.
sacredness
Mm, yeah.
of the whole.
Mhm.
Rather, it's like the emissary becomes the master. It's like the ego becomes the master. Right? It's about me. I'm a god. I'm in control.
Mhm.
I'm playing chess with your life. You know, the power over because I'm better than you. Right?
The power over paradigm rather than
Yeah.
myths. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not true power. No.
And believing that, like manipulating the weather, manipulating the environment, you know, doing these experiments because I am God. I can do this without reverence, without the knowing of the impact this has to the greater whole.
Ironically, if you don't pay attention to that, you're not really God, right? There's some irony in that for me because people want to play God, if we're talking about that, and control certain things without knowing the impact and or awareness of the impact. But I think God or the creator is aware of the whole. They're aware of life-serving energy. They're aware of how that impacts.
Mm.
And if you're not, then that's where I think the idea of evil or what's not life-giving or not godlike comes into play.
Yeah. Is disconnected from reality, is disconnected from life. They say, in the first relationship a man it has is his relationship to nature,
Mm,
his relationship to Mother Earth, to Gaia. Without reverence for Gaia, it's just a literal raping, pillaging, and take. It's not feeding the well. It's just a taking, drinking, not replenishing it. Yeah. And that goes to, what is my relationship with the feminine within myself? Yeah. Because all we're talking about here is integration and completion and wholeness of yin and yang, right? Fire and water, like of opposites, like how to live in the paradox of life of having both. Both this desire for freedom and the desire to belong and connect with others. It's not one or the other. When I start living in one or the other, black or white thinking, that's where I start to split, or I start to
mhm.
swing back and forth. I start to become confused. But life is a paradox. Life is a spectrum that good and evil or good or bad cannot exist without the other. It exists on the same side of the coin, right? Opposites allow me to know, the consequences of both, so I know where to walk in the middle path that tends to life, that cares for life. And that requires attention, requires energy to pay attention, be aware of, am I showing up in my truth? Am I congruent? Am I aligned?
Yeah. There's so many ways we can become fractured and dualistic thinking.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Especially, and I have seen clients, and it is reflected in people's eyes and eyesight, when we're stuck with obsessive thoughts and thinking and we're disconnected from source, we can't access that creativity, um, and it happens under stress. When people are stressed, we everybody, like nervous systems, cognitive, we go into fight or flight, survival mode. And that does fracture the connections. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And reinforcing those behaviors, right?
yeah, and then it just reinforces the paradigm and everything.
And providing more evidence to reinforce those paradigms is, it's such a vicious cycle. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Mm, mm,
It's true. And so, how do you get out of the vicious cycle? Because it
mm,
does provide evidence, right? Oh, this
mm.
is how it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I learned is, like, we talk about affirmations, right?
Mhm.
And how, like, I could say, I I'm confident. And
Mhm.
then right away, the mind jumps in and provides me evidence of why I'm not confident. So it doesn't work. I can tell myself I'm confident in the mirror over and over again, but my mind automatically comes in and tells me stories that I'm not. And here's why. And so I need to be able to provide it evidence that I am confident, that I have showed up confidently, in a way to give the mind more data, because it always focuses on the negative in a way, right?
It is a strange
It has a
thing.
negative bias. So what if I say I'm confident because dot 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 dot?
Mm.
Proof. I'm confident because I went and was the first person on the dance floor at this wedding, and I danced my ass off like no one's watching. I'm confident because I volunteered for Toastmasters and went up and did a table topics and speech that night. I'm confident because I approached this woman I like, blah, 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 right? Just boom, 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 giving it real evidence. And that requires me to then, yeah, go out there and collect the evidence, right? And create evidence to go against
Mm.
that, doesn't it?
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Affirmations and positive thinking is great, but you need evidence to prove.
Yeah. So the next piece is, for me getting to a supportive environment. I remember back in the day, I was in friend groups that wasn't supportive to my growth. Rather, it reinforced how bad I was with my caregivers or with my drinking buddies, right? Where we cut make fun of each other. But what if I was in a supportive environment where I was encouraged to do these behaviors and report back and learn from them? Having that growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, but having that modeled by others, having the gift of blessing and recognition from others so that I can eventually, just like learning how to self regulate, I learned that through co regulating, how my parents regulated me. I
Oh,
learn how to receive compliments, how to give compliments, and then I can give that to myself. And knowing that I don't have to do this myself, that I can also tap and drink from the well when I need to, because I'm a human being, that I do both my own solo time to get clear on who I am without these people influencing me, and at the same time belong to the tribe and make an impact and contribute and be useful and be needed and be helpful.
mm, that's such an interesting topic you bring up in a way because we do need a time to be alone, to go out on our pilgrimage in the wilderness, to really see how we perceive and react to things without others' influence at the same time. And it does depend on your human design sometimes, but we need the reflection of others, the mirroring of others to tell us what's valuable about us in a way, because there's no point to life being a solo artist and not being able to contribute to life itself and others' lives. It just doesn't feel enlivening.
Mm.
And people know this. People can go out there and make as much money as possible, and it feels meaningless unless they have people to share it with. Um, so it's this fine balance. It's a fine balance. People might call it introversion and extroversion, where you get your energy from, but we and everybody has a different balance of needing connection and others' reflections and the sovereignty to um, reflect inwards and be alone in that.
Yeah, totally, totally, right? Having the sovereignty and space to be able to hear my own inner workings, right, without the influence of others. And at the same time, I can't see my blind spots. Having people mirror those activations that, oh, my unconscious material is coming out because I'm getting activated right here. So there's something here for me to look at. And at the same time, part of my human design is I do need people around me to reflect parts of me that are missing,
Yeah.
right? The mirrors. And I was watching this movie the other day called Into the Wild, based on a true story. His name is Alexander. He renamed himself to Alexander Supertramp. He was valedictorian in his high school. Decided to peace out in society because he was kind of sick of the fakeness, right? Of the
Mhm.
whole commercial capitalist society, and wanted to be with nature. And he was on this trip and had a lot of time on his own as well to self actualize. And in his last moments, he realized, wow, the meaning of life is actually to share my life with others. He finally realized it wasn't just being by myself, but to be with loved ones and to share his experiences with others for it to be witness and witnessing others. And before he got the chance to do that, he died tragically. Before he, yeah, yeah. So the meaning of
Yeah.
life is relationships.
Mhm.
We were born in relationships. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, you can't really escape it, even though it can be quite painful at
Yeah.
times.
Mhm.
Or our perception is that it's painful at times.
Mm.
As we accept what is, we lessen our suffering a great deal.
Yeah, to be with that pain, right? To allow that pain to move, to allow the sadness, the grief, the anger. Yeah, yeah. To allow that experience to flow through us, to accept it.
Mhm.
And it's hard, right?
In our current, I would say, paradigm, it definitely is
Mhm.
challenging to. unwire, unlearn, reprogram. It's like that flywheel you're talking about. It takes a lot of effort at first. 100%.
And I find it so much easier when it's being modeled. When
Oh.
I come into an environment where people are doing it, it's like it's easy because I just want to belong. It comes naturally as a human being that wants to fit in. Like imagine if I was in a country that gave out um, worked only 2 days out of the 7-day week. The rest was weekend. I wouldn't feel guilty of taking time off for 5 days of the week, right? A culture that allows you to rest, have siestas throughout the day, nobody would feel guilty about that because we want to fit in. We want to do what culture accepts, right? So how do we create culture making that is conducive to life giving, to thriving life, to giving us energy, to contributing, to tapping into our purpose, right? To be invigorated, to be replenished, to drink from the well and then replenish it with our own gifts, with our own beingness. Yeah. And to help us
Mhm.
check in the self-critic, right? It's there. Feeling guilty, feeling shame. Can I one thing I was experimenting with is allowing this critic to be witnessed by others, to shame myself and others, and then watch. And my critic is watching to see if this person is trying to fix me. To say, "Oh, Dre, don't worry about it, man. You're the best. You're this. You're that. You shouldn't have those thoughts." Or, "Hey, Dre, you should do this. This will help you." But just to hold that, and also my critic is like, "Wow, this person's not fixing me. He's not criticizing me. He's allowing me to exist. Great. Now I'm ready to move on."
Yeah. Our being, our soul, our natural intelligence has a radar for judgment and being fixed. And it's like, oh, no, 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 I'm not going that way. If you want to affirm me or positive, think your way out of how you felt your way into, it's not going to work. Keep trying. And this is where you bang your head and those patterns get going over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
It knows there's judgment.
Mm. I know.
It's
I
that,
feel it.
you're
I
right.
smell it.
Right? That beingness.
Mhm.
Even the critic, the judge, "Oh, don't think that way, don't do this." Anytime you're don't, and do this, or I think that I should, yeah, we're in trouble.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. In nonviolent communication, we call it the educator, you know? Oh, finger wagging, right? And then the chooser, right? You know, I did the action. I slept in, right? And all of a sudden there's a part of me is like, "Oh man, Dre, you shouldn't have slept in, man. You wasted your time. You're such a lazy prick."
Yeah.
Right?
Well, also in nonviolent communication, right, there's a difference between a request and a demand,
Mhm.
right? And if anyone has the slightest bit of judgment or pressure for anything that they want other than what's life-giving, the other person has 2 options:
Yeah.
to either submit or rebel.
Yes. So how
It's gonna
often
look
how often are we submitting to our inner educator, to our inner judge? Shame on you. Oh, okay, I'm such a bad person. I'll repent, please. Oh, please forgive. Right? Versus or rebelling against the educator. Well, fuck you. I'm gonna have a pizza and a donair, and I'm gonna sleep in it when I want to. Right? So
Yeah,
we're at
alright,
war
yeah.
with ourselves, right? Like being discombobulated. Versus okay, I hear you, educator. You care for me to be in integrity with myself. I said I would wake up at this time, right, the day before, and you want me to wake up so I can follow through my words, so I can be productive, I can have growth. You like me to be someone that follows through. I hear you. And then the choose is like, oh, I hear you. You so desire some rest, right? You're tired and you wanted to sleep in because it felt good. Okay. Right. And just like, again, going back to that paradox of being able to hold both, care for both,
Wow,
and
again,
just sit with
it's
that.
relationship. Yeah, relationship to all that is so that you can find the alignment
Yes.
piece of what's true for your being in the moment.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
how can I have rest and be productive and follow through my word? Huh? Huh? Right? Right. And
Yeah.
it goes back to like even like disputes with my beloveds or work meetings of like, how do we sit with the needs and then coming up with a strategy that maximizes the needs that are laid out on the table. And so if I can come back to myself and negotiate and be like, hey, what if rest actually allows me to be more productive? And I'll give you proof, right? What if me overthinking is not going to help because I'm banging my head once against the wall, but that calls for a nap,
Yeah.
And then the nap gives me clarity and that allows me to move forward. Wow. Now I can have both. I can have a strategy to take naps and be productive, or even like be less like judgmental if I were to sleep in, you know? Okay, let's see. Let's play with that sleep in. Maybe I need to look at my routine, right? Am I staying up late at night? Blah, blah, blah. So allows me to not ping pong back and forth that I can easily find myself into.
I love how you've pulled that all together with that last piece there, Gary.
Yeah, tying it back to how we contribute, how we do our thing, right? And having the pressure, working with that pressure of the critic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. We don't have to burn out. We don't have to have adrenal fatigue. We can actually align to what is life-giving.
Yes. So it's not one size fit all. This requires
Mm-mm.
attunement and presence to tune in with myself, right? Coming back to like, hey, what do I need in this moment? And I believe that's the way you operate, right? That's the way you operate. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. Yep. No prescripted protocols.
Yeah.
It's what's happening in the moment.
Mhm.
Presence. Yep.
Yeah. Not like 8 hours.
Presence.
You got to clock in at 8 a.m. and then you got to clock out at 5 p.m.
I have a new thing. Presence creates productivity.
Yes.
Exponential,
Mhm.
not the kind of industrial productivity that we're used to churning out
Right.
stuff. It creates
Tracking the time.
creative. Yeah. Exponential creative leaps
Mhm.
is what it creates.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Cool. Checking the time here. Anything else before we sign off for today?
Not a thing. I love how you put all those pieces together.
Right brain, left brain. Linear thinking,
Back and forth.
abstract imaginary thinking. It's both. Yin and yang. Right? Sun and moon, water and fire, masculine, feminine, integration of polarities.
What they call the inner marriage. And the inner marriage requires relationship and communication.
Really?
Always
So
plays
true, right?
to that.
Relationship within myself.
Yep.
Am I fragmented or am I bringing them together? Yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So yeah, if you haven't been part of our Facebook group, join it. Our Facebook group, Relational Wisdom Community.
That's correct. Yes.
For conscious co-creating relationships, and our YouTube channel is all Relational Wisdom. Check it out. We're here every Friday streaming. Unless we're out on a retreat, we'll let you know when that happens. So until next time, be well.
Ciao.
One love. Bye-bye.